What is up, everybody, and welcome back to episode 9 of our Team Sky career mode, where today it's more of a transfer extravaganza. We will be showing some stages from the Tour de Wallonie, which is a 1.5-star objective, the Post Nord Denmark Rund, which is a 1-star objective, and the Deutschland Tour, which is another 1-star objective. We're going to get all those races out of the way, hopefully get the stage wins we need. But more importantly, the theme of this episode is going to be transfers and our transfer dealings. And we start off with a little bit of bad news. Laurence de Plus, the rider we added at the end of last episode, has also asked for more points to continue talks. And seeing right now that 16-point cost, again, I can't really justify it. And with Ilan van Wilder and Santiago Buitrago down here, who are both GC candidates, kind of fill the same role, I think we are probably going to look to end the talks with Laurence de Plus and add in somebody that's maybe more of an all-arounder, somebody that can get it done on cobbles, and overall just a different kind of rider that can fill a different niche that we need. And I think that man might be Mark Hirschi, who is about as much of an all-arounder as you can get. There's nothing that he's bad at. And he's only 24 years old, still has another half-star potential, not on a crazy contract. I think this is definitely the type of rider we're going to look to bring in for next year. And with him, I think we're going to also open talks with Max van der Meulen, a 6-star potential 19-year-old that currently rides for Team DSM's development team. But I mean, you can see here, he has all the makings of somebody that's going to be very special, and we want him on our team as early as possible. And with a similar mindset here, we are also going to open talks with Emil Herzog, the 6-star potential puncher, who is also going to be one of the world's best one day, and we would really like to have that happen here at Team Sky. And we have made it halfway through the month, which means it's time for our last round of dossiers. We have 6 points remaining, and we have 2 riders that look like they could fit the bill perfectly. The first of those 2 riders is going to be Leo Hayter, a man that already rides for our team, but we want to secure him to a long-term contract. 5.5-star potential. He's already progressing very nicely, and I think he could be the future for this Team Sky. And the second is going to be Vlad van Mechelen, another Team DSM development team rider, but he is a 6-star potential guy, and his stats are in a spot where you can kind of mold him to be whatever you want. He can sprint, his cobbles are high enough where you could make him into a threat, and I think that's what we're going to look to do, is try and turn him into a rider that could dominate the classics in the future. And at the end of dossier season, this is how it will look. If you just ignore the top 3 guys, our riders we're going to look to bring in are Santiago Buitrago, Mark Hirschi, Ilan van Wilder, Ide Skellig. We're going to look to re-sign Leo Hayter. We're going to try and bring in Max van der Meulen, Jan Christen, Vlad van Mechelen, and Emil Herzog. We're going to really look to start the future bright for this new team. And after all that, we do actually have to get some racing in this episode. So we will start with Stage 2 of the Tour de Wallonie. We did have a very close second place finish in Stage 1, and it was so close between Soren Werenskjold and Fred Wright, and unfortunately Soren Werenskjold came out just on top of that one. But we are looking for redemption in this. It is a 159.8 kilometer cobbled hill stage, which is perfect for Fred Wright, Connor Swift. I would be very surprised if they are not among the favorites, and indeed they are. We're going to look to push the pace there towards the end and get them over that last hill in the lead. And we are here with 9.5K left to go. There have been so many falls this stage. Fred Wright and Tom Gloag both going down. So the break still has a 2-minute gap coming into the end of this stage. Not looking ideal for us, but we're going to push the pace with T-Berry and see if we can make up some time on this hill, as Oyer Lazcano is going to attack as soon as T-Berry's done. And we're going to see if Swift and Wright can follow. I guess this is more for Connor Swift now than it is for Fred Wright, and it looks like we are making a little bit of difference as Lazcano can push it all the way to the top. And this descent is going to be very important. We still are back by about 1:10 seconds. Lazcano still in attack mode. He's going to go up to 99. We can't let Connor Swift use up his red bar too early, as Lazcano can go, and now Connor Swift can start his sprint with about 1.5 left, and it is so wiggly in there that nobody can actually get a decent sprint off, and it's going to be Charles Planet, Andreas Guman winning from the break. We're just seeing what that time penalty is going to be for us not catching the break. It's going to be about 59 seconds. Connor Swift, Oyer Lazcano, Fred Wright making up 3rd, 4th, and 5th place. And that's going to lead us to what I would consider the last stage that we have a real shot to win. With Jonathan Milan and Arnaud Delis in the ranks, I doubt we're going to win a sprint finish, even if it is on a false flat. So stage 3 is our last shot at getting our sponsor objective. It's a 170.4 kilometer flat stage, but there is a decent amount of elevation there towards the end that we can use to our advantage, and we're going to look to do just that here with either Fred Wright, Connor Swift, or Antonio T-Berry. And with just under 50k to go, it's time for us to start pushing the pace here. The break has 2 minutes and 20 seconds, and Tom Gloag just starting to get into the hills. We have 1 minute to make up into that leader's jersey. We also want the stage win for today, so we're going to make this last section as hard as we can. And we have reached the bottom of that second to last climb with just over 25k left to go. The breakaway group still trying to go for those mountain points, but we are not going to let them go. We're on a mission today, and that mission is to get Fred Wright a stage win. We might be pushing it a little too hard down here at the bottom, but we still have plenty of domestiques to go. The brake's caught. We can slow it down a little bit, maybe save some for Tom Gloag. We just don't want to slow it down too much and let any attacks around us. But it looks like, regardless, we're going to lose Tom Gloag on this climb, so we might as well make good use of him as his red bar starts to, unfortunately, unload, as we are still 2k away from the top of this climb, and Tom Gloag has officially cracked. And T-Berry now taking up the charge. It looks like UAE and some of these other teams are going to struggle to follow us, as we do have a little split here. A 23-second gap to the group behind with our 4 guys. If we can keep this up, this is going to be great news for our team, as all we have to do is make it through this little false flat section, and we're home free until the end of the race. And we did make it over that little false flat section. Connor Swift still with enough stamina to lead Fred Wright down to the bottom. The peloton just about 10 seconds below us, but we are in a great position right now to just keep this going till the end. We can even move Connor Swift up and go ahead and pop our energy gel on Fred Wright and Oyer Lazcano. We're actually going to have Fred follow Oyer. We're going to have Oyer move up to 89 as Connor Swift, his job's going to be done for the day, as Fred Wright gets a little bit lost. But the energy gel pops, and we are going to attack with Fred Wright, and Oyer Lazcano can just kind of do his own thing. And it's going to be Fred Wright and Arnaud Delis right now, the 2 riders who are going to get to the top of this last hill in the leading position is right now Fred Wright running out of that red bar. We're going to let Oyer do his own thing. And all we have to do is make it to another little false flat section. Arnaud Delis is not coming around to help us. We have a 40-second gap to the group behind, and we definitely want to just sit on Delis' wheel. And if that gap drops below 30, we're going to go ahead and pop our sprint from here, as it is all downhill to the line. Arnaud Delis' downhill stat is 67, Fred Wright's 74, so we have to imagine that we are going to be the favorites for this final sprint finish, as it is going to be Fred Wright coming across the line in first place, followed by Arnaud Delis, and it's going to be 20 seconds back to the group behind. If the leader is in that group, it's not going to be enough for a GC win, but I'm just happy we got our objective out of the way early. And we see Fred Wright on the podium for the stage. As we know, no other Team Skyriders in the top 10, but we did push it pretty hard there at the end. And if we take a look at the general classification, Fred Wright sitting in second place, 51 seconds behind Andreas Goman, who I think is going to end up winning this tour. But Fred Wright, job done. Pack it up. Let's move on to the next race. And before we get to that next race, we do have an option to change sponsors for next year. We could stay with Team Sky. The ceiling isn't as high. It's higher on these other teams, but Team Vertipro, Velo Concept, and Adico Bank Hermes are going to have to wait, because we are Team Sky till we die, or at least until we hit our budget cap, and then we'll look to switch. But right now the 2024 budget is the highest with Team Sky anyway, so this is a win-win situation for us. And it is August 1st, and that opens the transfer market. So now we will actually get to see if we can get these riders onto our team after we see how much money they want from us for next year. And our number one target, it's no surprise, Santiago Buitrago. We have 138,000 euro per month to offer these riders, so we're hoping we can get each of our top three guys for under about 40,000. Don't know if it's going to be doable, but we're going to see what Santiago Buitrago wants from us, and it's going to be 20,000 a month for 2 years. With how good he can get, we're going to bump that up to 3 years, give him a little bit more pay, and see if he accepts that. It's close. We are not too far off. If we can get him into an absolute leader role, pay him about 25,000 a month, I think on the safe side, we can offer that. And it looks like we're going to have to get him up to around 28 just to be sure. And we have signed Santiago Buitrago for the 2024 season. A huge signing for this new look Team Sky. And our next highest priority target, I would say, if it wasn't for the potential, he would have been our number one target for the year, Ilan van Wilder. We're going to use 12 points to open talks with him, and he wants just about the same as Santiago Buitrago, so we're going to move that up to 23,000 over 3 years as well. Well, maybe we pull this back to 2 years because he can't grow quite as much, and there are going to be a lot of very good riders that are out of their contracts after next year. So we're going to offer him 23,000 a month over 2 years with the leader role, and he is not happy with that, so we can bump it up to 26. And I don't want to give him absolute leader. I don't want to give him 3 years just so we have some wiggle room. We'll see if just the salary will do it, and it doesn't, of course. So we will bump it up to 28, put him equal with Santiago Buitrago, and see if that's enough to make him sign for Team Sky. And it is, so we do have 2 of our GC riders locked up for next year. And up next we have our all-arounder with just a little dash of potential, Mark Hirschi, who we will use 12 more points to open talks with. And he wants just around the same. I think 2-year contract's fair. We can move it up to 25, and leader role would fit him well. Also, we only have 81,000 left to play with, and 25 is not enough, so we're going to move him up to absolute leader, give him 27,000. I don't know if that's going to be enough, and it isn't. So we're looking at dishing out probably 31,000 for Mark Hirschi, but since we've already used our points, we really don't have an option. So 31,000 over 2 years, Mark Hirschi will ride for us in 2024. And with the last of our shown contract negotiations, Ide Skelling is going to be the one. We're going to use our 6 points to open talks with him. I just really like him as a rider. He's going to be super cheap. I think he has a tiny bit of potential. Yes, he does. He has a half star that he can grow, so we'll move him up to 98 over 3 years. Be a luxury teammate, and that's not quite enough. We can move him up to important rider, give him 10,300 a month, and still not enough for the young Dutchman. So we'll move him up to 11,000. We still have 49,000 left, and quite a few riders left to sign. So if this doesn't pass, I think that's a pretty fair deal for Ide Skelling and what we're getting with him. And I'm very excited to have him on the team as well. And after all the negotiations are over, we have got every single rider that we wanted for 2024. If you look over here on the right, you can see the full list, but I'll run through them anyway. Santiago Buitrago, Mark Hirschi, Ilan van Wilder, Ide Skelling, Jan Christen, Leo Hayter, Max van der Meulen. Max van der Meulen? I'm having a very hard time pronouncing that, but he's going to be a great rider for us. Vlad van Mechelen and Emil Herzog. So the future is looking very bright at Team Sky right now. And we have reached the UCI World Championships. It is a 279.0 kilometer hill stage, and we have 1, 2, 3 riders from Team Sky on this British national team. So of course we're going to look to get one of our riders in this jersey. Those riders are going to be Oscar Onley, who after his recent explosion in attributes is up to 77 hills. We've also got Connor Swift and Fred Wright, who could be in contention, but since this is such a long stage, we're going to have to see how this one shakes out, kind of play it by ear and just protect our guys. And with 30k to go, the front group has been caught. Knox is on the front. His job is almost done for the day, and it's going to be Geraint Thomas, Ben Tullett to lead out Geraint Thomas right about now, just as Knox runs out of his red bar. Tullett's going to go ahead and take the front, and we are just going to keep pushing this pace for the last 2 circuits and hope that Onley, Swift, or Wright has enough stamina to make it to the end. And with 18k left to go, Ben Tullett is out of stamina, so it's going to be Geraint Thomas, Tom Pidcock, and then Fred Wright to hopefully grab the national champion jersey, or the world champion jersey, for Great Britain. And right now we are in a group of 22 riders at the front. There's a minute back to E2 and 30 more seconds back to the peloton, so the winner is most likely going to come from this group, and our team is looking incredibly strong right now. Pidcock leading out Fred Wright is very dangerous for the other teams, and Thomas is actually doing an incredible job right now keeping the chasing groups behind. Again, I don't think there's any chance they pull us back, and our pace is high enough that I don't think any of the big hitters are going to come around just yet, but pretty soon we're going to have to crank that energy up even more. There's about 10.5k left. Pidcock's still looking great. We're going to get him prepped for his turn on the front, and we are going to pop the energy gels with about 6k left, I think. That should get us just in there. Gonna actually crank the pace a little more over that hill. set it back to 87 when we come down, and we're going to set it back up to 92. Just here, we've got about 7K left to go, and Tom Pidcock is looking like he's going to take over fairly soon, and that time is going to be right now as G can do his own thing, and we're going to pop the energy gel on all of our remaining guys, and it's going to be on Tom Pidcock to lead out Fred Wright and bring him home for a world championship. 16 riders left in the group right now, and this is looking more and more doable the farther this goes on as we sprint with Tom Pidcock up this final hill. It's Fred Wright's job to follow him. We're going to sprint with Fred Wright, sprint with Oscar Onley, sprint with Connor Swift, and unfortunately it looks like the sprinters are going to be just a bit too much as Alex Kirsch is going to become your world champion. Tom Pidcock finishing third, Fred Wright in fifth, Oscar Onley in sixth, Connor Swift in eighth. I knew it was unlikely, but there for a little bit, looked like we really had a shot at this. And that will bring us to the last stage of this episode. It's going to be stage 3 of the Denmark Rund, a 198.0 kilometer hill stage. As you can see the favorites here, we have a pretty stacked field. If you take a look at our team, Oscar Onley, Max Poole, Tom Gloag, Josh Tarling, Fred Wright. I mean, we have a lot of the big boys here. We're going to go ahead and try and take this stage for ourselves. And we are here with 12.5K left to go. Josh Tarling leading the boys up this loop for the second to last time. Max Poole about to take over. Josh Tarling has done a wonderful job pulling back this front group, as now it is going to be Max Poole's time to take over. We're going to actually set him back to 87 now that that group's been caught. Tarling can do his own thing. We're trying to set this up for Oscar Onley towards the end. And right now we have a group of 34 with a half a minute gap back to A1, and then another 15 seconds back to the larger A2. So we are in a great spot right now. We're going to crank it up again with Max Poole. Get over these hills as quickly as possible. We don't want that gap coming back. And it looks like it already has, unfortunately. I don't know when that happened, but with about 5.5K to go, we're going to go ahead and pop the energy gel on Max Poole. With 5K, a little less, we'll pop it on Fred Wright and Oscar Onley. And now is not the time for a respite for the riders behind. We're going to get ready to launch Fred Wright over this last hill. Max Poole can go up to 99. And Fred Wright can attack over the top. Poole can kind of sit, do his own thing. Right now, Fred Wright is leading Oscar Onley out as he can go ahead and sprint. Fred Wright also sprinting. And it's going to be the British national champion, Oscar Onley, to take stage 3 of the Denmark Rund. And with that stage win on the last stage of this episode, we do knock out another season objective with the stage win at the Denmark Rund. But I am very excited after this episode for our team for next season. I think we can be very competitive in the Grand Tours, and I think the World Tour season shouldn't be too difficult for us. We have threats all over now. But I wanted to say again, thank you for all of your support. It means the world. Everybody's been so great. I don't know if you noticed, we've gotten a lot of comments recently about the graphics being too low. So I did get my computer sorted. The last 2 races have updated, better graphics, and that's what you can expect from now on in this series and the Pro Cyclist series. But I just wanted to say thank you, and I will see you later.